Welcome to the third season of 10 with Ken. I'm Ken Steele. Every January since 2007, I've been writing reports, blogs, and now webcasts that analyze and summarize the year in review. News, events, and trends that challenged higher education and seem likely to shape its future. Without a doubt, 2016 was a year in which the world saw much tragedy. A federal state of emergency was declared in Flint, Michigan. The Zika virus outbreak caused thousands of birth defects in Brazil. And after a decade as America's sweethearts, Brad and Angelina called it quits. Boomers and Gen Xers lost talented artists from their youth, including David Bowie, Prince, Leonard Cohen, and George Michael. We lost beloved comics Gene Wilder and Abe Vigoda. And Star Wars fans lost both our princess and R2-D2. America lost heroes, villains, and a potions professor we all loved to hate. Those who grew up watching television in the 70s and 80s lost a virtual mom and a dad. Toronto lost both Rob Ford and Ursula Franklin. Futurists lost Alvin Toffler, and Star Trek fans their newest helmsman. In fact, 2016 was a year that left all of us feeling adrift and wishing for a stronger navigator at the helm. 2016 brought us Brexit, Trump, and Boaty McBoatface. It also introduced significant global and political shifts that will affect higher education directly. For my 10th annual year in review, I'm going to sum up 2016 in 6 words. This week, Part 1, Wildfires and Free Tuition. Let's take 10 and take stock. Higher ed saw plenty of significant trends in 2016 that in fact began years earlier. Check out our 2015 in review episodes where I summed up 10 trends, including political correctness, gender equity, sexual assault protocols, indigenous programming, and peak campus. In Canada, recommendations from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and legal battles over Trinity Western University's new law school are still playing out. But there were major events and significant trends that emerged in 2016 and defined the year that was, so far as higher education is concerned. In the next few episodes, we'll sum them up in 6 words. And yes, most of them are F words. Probably not the one you're thinking. The biggest news story in Canada last year was the wildfire that tore through 1.5 million acres in northern Alberta, including the town of Fort MacMurray, or the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo. 88,000 people, the entire population of the town, were evacuated in a mere 4 days, many to take shelter in residence at colleges and universities in Edmonton and Calgary. Damage was estimated at up to $9 billion, the costliest disaster in Canadian history. 2,400 homes and buildings in Fort MacMurray were destroyed, 15% of the town, which was literally decimated. Keyano College, located in Fort MacMurray, was relatively fortunate. The fire didn't reach its campuses or do structural damage to its buildings. Still, the cost of replacing fridges and freezers and eliminating smoke damage to carpets and ceiling tiles came close to $15 million. Although the spring term had to be cancelled for about 700 students, Keyano College was back to almost full enrollment by the fall. The 2016 wildfire, compounded by declines in global oil prices, has had a lasting impact on the Canadian economy and labor market. It's a long-standing belief among ad agency types that the most powerful word in the English language, at least as far as marketing is concerned, is the word free. The word has probably lost much of its impact in marketing through overuse, but in North American higher education, it's been growing in importance for several years now. It's one of the words that captures a significant trend of 2016. Back in April 2014, the legislature in Tennessee approved a free tuition program called the Tennessee Promise. After federal grants, the state covers all tuition and fees for students in the first 2 years of community college, provided they maintain a 2.0 GPA. In 2015, Minnesota and Oregon also followed with similar programs, and in 2016, Kentucky followed suit. At the national level, in 2015, President Barack Obama unveiled a $60 billion free tuition program called the American College Promise, based on the Tennessee model.
And that's why I'm sending this Congress a bold new plan to lower the cost of community college to zero. Tennessee a state with Republican leadership, and Chicago, a city with Democratic leadership, are showing that free community college is possible. I want to spread that idea all across America so that 2 years of college becomes as free and universal in America as high school is today.
It would provide free tuition for the first 2 years of community college for up to 9 million students coming from households earning less than $200,000. Individual states would need to pony up 1/4 of the funding. Of course, the College Promise Act has been stalled in committee. In his 2016 campaign for president, Bernie Sanders took free to a whole new level, calling for free tuition at public colleges and universities.
In many ways, a college degree today is equivalent to what a high school degree was 50, 60 years ago. So yeah, I do believe that when we talk about public education in America today, in a rapidly changing world, we should have free tuition at public colleges and universities. That should be a right of all Americans, regardless of the income of their families.
Of course, in Canada, the province of Quebec has been offering free tuition at its CEGEPs for 50 years. But last year, 2 more provinces launched free tuition programs of their own, at least for low-income students. In February, the Government of Ontario announced with much fanfare a shift from OSAP grants and tuition tax credits to a new Ontario Student Grant that would offer $1.3 billion in support to college and university students coming from households earning less than $50,000. 2 months later, the government of New Brunswick announced a tuition access bursary that would effectively cover all tuition after federal grants for students coming from households earning less than $60,000 a year. They calculated that about 7,000 students would be eligible. The opposition complained that the government had eliminated $50 million in tax credits, replacing it with just half that in funding. Not to be left behind, the Canadian Federation of Students jumped on the bandwagon last October, releasing a 50-page report called Time to Think Big: The Case for Free Tuition. The CFS urged universal access and education justice by reducing tuition fees to zero at public colleges and universities across the country, and cited 17 other countries as examples. They calculated that Canada can provide free tuition across the country for just $10.2 billion, equivalent to 6 F-35 fighter jets. The CFS also helpfully appended the employment contracts of several college and university presidents they consider overpaid, as a none too subtle suggestion as to where government might find more money. The CFS staged a day of action on November 2nd, and thousands of students marched at dozens of campuses across the country.
We have 3 demands. The first demand, we want universal post-secondary education. That means domestic students, that means indigenous students, and that means international students.
Obama's free tuition program may lose momentum under a Trump administration, but at the state and provincial level across North America in 2016, free tuition programs really started to take off. This episode is just the start of 10 with Ken's annual Year in Review. Next time, we're going to take a look at global shifts towards populism, protectionism, and a post-truth distrust of intellectuals. As you can imagine, it spells challenge and opportunity for higher education in North America and around the world. To be sure you don't miss the rest of this series, take a moment now to subscribe on the platform of your choice. You can watch this webcast on YouTube, iTunes, Dailymotion, Vimeo, Facebook, Tumblr, or by RSS feed. If you prefer just to listen, now we also release 10 with Ken as an audio podcast on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, TuneIn, and Stitcher Radio. You can find links to all of these platforms and an email subscription form too on the Eduvation website. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. It's one of the words that captures a significant trend in 1720. Yeah. Captures a significant trend in... now I'm doing it. 2016. That's it. As far as high... You can watch this webcast... YouTube, iTunes, Dailymotion, Vimeo, Facebook, Tumblr, Dailymotion, Vimeo, Facebook, Tumblr, Vimeo, or Dailymotion, or RSS feed. Yeah. YouTube, iTunes, Vimeo, Dailymotion, Facebook, Tumblr, RSS feed. There's 7 of them. YouTube, iTunes, Vimeo, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, TuneIn on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, TuneIn, and Stitcher Radio. iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, TuneIn, and Stitcher Radio. iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher Radio. Wow, that's going to be hard to get all in one take.